that brings us now to our stopgap segment for this week. Being our underrated Premier League 11. It's a common one done. We haven't actually done it yet, so I'm surprised out of all these weeks, all these episodes, we haven't done an underrated Premier League 11.
Okay.
Very interesting, this one, because...
I like this. I think we'll have different teams as well.
Hopefully. We've said a lot of weeks, but...
I know we have a few similar ones.
But hopefully by now, we've got a different team.
I also think there's like... With this, it's one of the more subjective ones.
That's the thing. What is underrated?
It's not so like as in... You can easily make a case for like a player having like an underrated season or like a whole underrated career, so you want to give them some credit. Like, and I've got a bit like a mix of both here.
A mix, yeah.
And even like, people often get underrated mixed with like being good. Like as in, you can't be a really, really good player and be underrated, but you can.
You still can.
Like,
I've got a few players in here that I think are superstars that...
I've got some elite players in here. Like
don't
some
get
big name players in here, which is just like, I don't necessarily think... they should be considered even higher rated amongst their sort of fellow players in the same position and stuff.
It's wherever you sit. It's are you underrated where you should be, sort of thing. Yeah. So it's gonna be we're gonna have interesting. So should we go
feedback position by position?
I think we might as well. Just two of us. Might as well. Yeah. So goalkeeper, you guys kicked off.
I've gone Neto from Bournemouth.
Good shout.
This is one of the more like, less, not sort of top 5 keepers in the league.
Yeah.
But probably could be in that conversation. I mean, I've watched. Neto was obviously at Barca for a couple of years, and then now he's been at Bournemouth. And I think he's been so solid in that Bournemouth team.
Great turnaround since.
For and there's a lot of keepers you can make a case for. But I think he's good with his feet. He's been there under a few different managers now, and they all continue to pick him. Right? He's also that sort of player in his team, which like has actually a bit of that. Despite having a lot of good Brazilian keepers, he still feels like one of the European level players in that team. Like played in the Champions League,
top level player.
Played at Barca. So like he
nice slash.
To me is always super consistent, good, like really, really decent with his hands and good with his feet. And I don't think he gets enough credit for what he does.
Definitely. I went a different. I went the more lower down. I think deserves a little bit more credit. Being Thomas Kaminski from Luton. So this
this is super underrated.
So this is me, Neto, and him, and I thought Neto, because of the Barca thing, I couldn't put him in, but I understand where you come from, the fact that he doesn't get...
Amongst the Prem keepers, I think he's underrated.
He should be talked about more.
I mean, it's funny you say this though, because of all the 3 like relegation teams, everyone speaks about Trafford, everyone speaks about bloody Fotheringham as being terrible.
Yeah, like it's because Trafford's like the next gen. He's sort of like flashy, uses his feet.
But he's not underrated at all. I feel like
he gets enough rating.
A lot of credit.
Yeah, it's almost overrated at this point in time. Whereas Kaminski, I feel like there's nothing special about this bloke. He makes some big saves and some big moments. Again, he might not be the most consistent keeper, but what Luton have now, they recognise very quickly, they're not going to win games by being in possession. They're going to just concede chances and concede shots. He's made some terrific saves along the way. He's been there despite Tim Krul being signed. I thought that would be the player that would go with Tim Krul in goal. They've stuck with this guy, and that's all respect to him. I think he's been a very respectable keeper that, when you think about Luton in the Prem, if they go back down for a bit, you always sort of link as him.
You didn't have any stats relating to this, like as in big saves.
This is the thing.
I feel like should have.
But again, you should have. But I feel like this is one of those lists we said. It's a subjective.
It's a bit of an eye test. Yeah, a bit of an eye test list.
And this is why I love these old eye test subjective things because it's just you're gonna get different teams. That's what's gonna happen, right? But I think if you probably did look at the big saves, it might not be right at the top, but he'll be around that mark. I feel like in that.
When you watch him, like
you feel like he has enough there to keep them in games.
Yeah, it's like a comparison of like eye test and like Twitter recognition.
Recognition,
They get no recognition.
These guys go under the radar. No one talks
already
about
underrated.
Yeah, not slandered or not talked about highly. That's where they sit.
So left back, I've gone Anthony Robinson.
Yeah, this is a good
I think I touched on him earlier this year on like my one player from each team squad.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was weighing up him and someone else, and it was like, I think in that Fulham team, Anthony Robinson's one of the higher end players. He absolutely locked down someone from like one of the big teams the other day. I don't know. I can't remember who it was. It might have been
who played on the right for Liverpool in the Cup. Because in the Cup, he was good as well recently.
I think Liverpool slapped him in the league. Oh no! I think it was Salah.
Something like
that. He did a job on Salah, and it was the game where they're going back and forth, and Fulham nearly won against Liverpool earlier this year.
Yeah,
and Salah was just so quiet for the entire game. I don't know.
He
might have scored 3 or something, but Anthony Robinson across the board, he gets. It feels like he gets 90 minutes most weeks, and in a pretty shaky defensive makeup. I feel like he's one of the more solid players. Where I think he's good man on man. He's really quick,
very quick,
and what I find about Anthony Robinson when I watch him is pretty no nonsense. Like doesn't try and you know he's happy to just kick it out for a throw in, right? You know, like if it's a 1-on-1 and he takes possession, don't risk it with Burn Leno, who we know is not great with his feet.
Shaky.
Just smack it Rosette and just reset. You know, and I think that's an underrated characteristic nowadays.
Know your level because we've got a lot of players in the Prem who think they're Hollywood and
and then we see that can often be the undoing of them.
Yeah, 100%. If I'm a United fan, I can definitely say that. My left back going Tyreek Mitchell.
Okay.
Again, another Crystal Palace fan club sort of thing as well.
Underrated.
This is the thing. Is he still class underrated?
See, is he actually? No, but see, that's the thing. Is that like everyone knows Tyreek Mitchell, the name.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a household name.
He's become one now.
But is he like? Is he not recognised for actually how good he is?
I think he should get a little more credit. Obviously, he's not near that England level yet, but I think he'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
Like I think there's a lot of these Crystal Palace players. There's a raw talent there. If he gets a right move or keeps playing at the right club or right system, then we could be seeing a proper player, good both ways, really good into a tackle. I feel like his closing speed and his ability to just get in and just make that big tackle. Like you said, just get out of play. He's not someone's going to be superb with
like
the
a
ball.
little bit rash.
Yeah. Again, he makes some mistakes here and then out of position, but I feel like there's a talent there, and maybe I'm just again extrapolating a little bit. But I feel like what I've seen this season, especially in a back line, it's been when they play well, it's the back line that plays well. Goes down to a lot of him. When he's out of the team, when Richards plays in that position, they don't look the same team. So that's why I had to put him in there. But again, he's got his recognition. It's if I don't think you get enough recognition to where he's at. Yeah.
What's the next position?
Centre backs. Do you want to pair them up?
So I've gone two big names here. These are both big name players.
Okay.
But I don't think either of them. Okay, this might be biased. Gabriel.
Okay.
I think is so outshone by Saliba.
I get that bit. Yeah.
One, and that's no discredit to Saliba because he is, I think, probably the best centre back in the league. I think Saliba is a bloody Rolls Royce. I think he'd be, one of the top two centre backs in the world. I think he's that good.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But I think Gabriel is so underrated because of this. I think you could easily make a case for them two being number 1 and 2 in the league. I think Gabriel is that good, and because of the mistakes he used to make years ago now, right? Like used to snap a couple guys in the box and give away a few silly pens here and there. But this was a handful of times, right?
Yeah, no, I get that.
But because they were so highlighted, I think they easily come to mind about like a rash player. He's just not the next echelon. I think Gabriel now, plays 90. Despite the start of the season, last season played 90 minutes every week. Yeah. He played Europa. He played, bloody every FA Cup game. He played everything, right? Yeah. So, Gabriel, I think, should be considered in the top echelon, but I don't think he is.
Yeah.
The other one I've gone is Pau Torres. So this one, I don't really know if he's underrated. I feel like he is.
Yeah.
But I feel like you can make a case for a lot of the Villa centre backs. Diego Carlos probably underrated because he's been injured.
Yeah.
Even Tyrone Mings when he was playing,
he gets slandered a lot.
Yeah, I feel like he was slandered a lot because he was a bit stinky there.
Yeah.
But across the board, I think Villa, their centre backs are like allow their fullbacks to kick on so much, right?
Yeah.
And Pau Torres, elite on the ball, left-footed left side centre back, which are rare nowadays. Yeah. I think he won La Liga Player of the Year,
not too long ago,
Defensive Player of the Year, like last year. Yeah. And he's always been linked to the big clubs, but he's just sort of, he's never got that big move. And even Villa isn't a big move. Like only Unai brought him over because it's sort of Unai's man.
Link,
right?
Yeah.
But I think, very, very consistent. Both these guys are aerial threats, which I think is a real underrated factor of a centre back. Like being able to score, like a goal here and there. Like we saw on the weekend. If you can open up a team early in the game with a goal, or you can find a late winner, that is a great threat to have.
Yep, you need it.
And so I think they're both not that like they're not considered good players. Everyone knows they're good.
Yeah.
But I think they're probably both like underrated in the sense of where they should be in that top class of centre backs. I don't think they're the same. I think Gabriel's better.
Yeah.
But I think they both should be considered higher up.
Okay. I like it. This is going to make it good because, I went...
You went a bit more rogue.
I went, again, I've got a lot of lower players in my back line, and then it gets a bit better as I get in the forward. So I went with Craig Dawson and Ethan Pinnock. I could have gone with Kilman as well because someone
Max
you really
Kilman,
like.
I rate Max
as well. I'm just,
but Dawson's definitely more underrated in that centre back.
I feel again, for an English guy as well, because normally the English guy get talked about heaps more. He doesn't get talked about enough, I feel like. Talk about good from a...
Do you reckon he's a bit of like a Lewis Dunk a couple years ago? Lewis Dunk's got his quarters in recent
It'll
years.
feel like that, but he's not showbody, if you know what I mean, like Lewis Dunk. Lewis Dunk's got more. We've seen his free kicks. We see how easy he is in the ball.
He drives in the ball.
Yeah, like Dawson, literally just your guy, not quick, knows his role, right?
Is he like a Cahill back in the day?
You know, something like that, right? Something like that. Because Gary Cahill was a decent player on his day, and that's what Dawson is. Just super consistent. He'll give you 6, 7 out of 10 every single week. He's not going to give you a remarkable performance. He will score the odd goal from a corner. I just feel like West Ham missed a trick getting rid of him. I feel like we're talking off air a bit about like Mavropanos and how stinky he is at the back. If Dawson was still there with Zuma,
I know.
It's not quick. It'd be very slow
now, man.
But Dawson and Zuma is a combination that I would have liked to see more of.
Yeah.
I think, probably more slept on what he did at West Ham as well. It was ridiculous. Yeah. And then Pinnock for me as well. A little bit of Man United thing as well. Every time we verse these guys, Pinnock just shuts down our forwards. He's always in the way. And a Brentford team that hasn't been good this year, right? Yeah. But he's always felt like he's been there, solid,
and
consistent.
next to Ben May, probably never gets like the...
With Collins and Ben May, who are more the Rolls Royces in terms of they look a bit nice on the ball and stuff. This guy just gets in the way for a block. Solid enough on the ball.
And he's an attacking threat as well.
Big
boy, and I swear, I'm not sure, like, once again, what his stats are.
I think he's got a few goals.
I feel like Ethan Pinnock gets in the... I know he's in a lot of FPL teams, right? Yeah. And that usually means that... There's
a correlation there.
A bit of attacking threat.
Again, these two guys that you'll never really hear about, but two guys, whenever I watch my team play them or I come across watching them, it's just the small things they do that stand out. So two different styles looking at it, but that's the way I went for my back two. Right backs now.
Do you go right back? Go, okay. Keep going. You're on.
Again, same sort of vein again. Alfie
We've
Doughty.
gone the same here.
Yeah, should we talk about it? We talked about this a little bit before on air. Before you went on air.
We both gone Alfie.
Don't want Alfie Doughty. You know what? Fair play. Like this guy. Yeah. I talked about Kaminsky being linked with Luton.
Borderline not underrated as of like the last few weeks.
The last sort of 2 weeks.
But it's been like the last month.
Yeah, people have like saying, "Oh, damn, this guy's deep."
Because he's been elite this year.
Energizer Bunny, up and down, up and down, up and down.
Super good attacking threat.
Oh yeah, but he's obviously not as solid at the back as maybe my Tyreek Mitchell's or Dawson's and Pinnock's. A bit of a different mould. But damn, this guy, like, he gives them solid service from that left or right. Sometimes he goes out to the left.
Yeah.
But on the right there as well. Yeah. Links up well with the wing as you come on. Him and Chong's going to have that sort of good link, crossing the ball around. And even him and Barkley, I feel like those two are just a bit of a different level in the Luton team.
Their ball playing is a little bit more like, next class above.
Yeah, the next echelon. So I said to your affair as well, could be a bit of like a Andy Robertson whole thing where maybe they go down and people find that this guy's a player. They might go to maybe a top 10,
I would be surprised if he
club.
doesn't get a much bigger move
Yeah,
this year.
I feel like then he can start establishing himself.
Because he's young. He's...
I'm pretty sure he's not young, but he's not, like, we're not saying in the 30s.
Don't tell me he's like 28.
I think he's around that sort of mid-mark.
Oh, damn it. Is he?
Oh, 24. No, you're right.
I don't think
24.
Yeah.
I thought he was a little bit older. I thought he was 26, but it's fine. 1-0 to you for the day.
Oh, just 24 as well. December 21st, mate.
Oh, so
he's a 99. He's nearly a 2000 baby. And everyone born
99. That's crazy.
Yeah, mate. Like, he's young. He's
young. That's 1-0 to you. I thought he was 25, 26.
Yeah.
But no, I just
baller.
Think consistent baller.
And I mean, probably won't be underrated for too much longer because he's sort of getting his credit.
I think the last few weeks we can say his name before it becomes too much to talk about. Midfield. Okay, we're gonna have a lot of difference. We went to midfield 3, obviously the 4-3-3, but
it was for me. It was just kind
of. I want
to
premise that
just get ballers in this.
I just got central midfielders or midfielders in my midfield.
So I think we both have one we agree on. Brighton,
Pascal
Gross, mate.
Rob.
And this is one where like once again, finally, it feels like he's getting a bit of credit now because the fact that no Basuma, no McAllister, no Caicedo, they've lost these bloody gems in there.
He's been playing everywhere.
Like, and now, I mean, he played last year, played right back, played 10.
He played in the 8 as well.
Like, and this year he plays everywhere. But like, he's been playing everywhere for years now, right? Yeah. His ball playing is elite. He's like 33.
But doesn't
like no one like Pascal Gross was only on the map the last few years. I'm telling you, this guy is a ball playing elite, creative. He's one of these guys as well, which just like when he scores goals, just places it in the net.
Yeah, it's just good looking goals.
It's just so casual, and it's so nice to watch. I never see him put in a bad performance. No. I always feel like he can create something out of nothing. Like, and it doesn't matter if they're getting battered, or if they're turning teams over. Like I just think he's super consistent in his output. Gets a lot of picks up a lot of assists. I think he might be like the second leading assist player in the league. I mean,
wouldn't be surprised,
he's putting up
guys.
numbers this year, which is kind of why he's getting a little bit more credit this year.
He's been their shining light from fullback. That's what it says a lot. He's playing fullback. He's probably been their best player, most consistent player this season. I'll check the stats out.
He's just like so visually
six assists.
Yeah,
Obviously, it says he's 10th, but he's like
either from a bit of a deeper lying midfield role or getting out wide on the fullback.
Yeah,
so
ridiculous.
Super versatile, super good in the ball. Like it's very good, like good to the eye.
I say that's the biggest compliment. Every time I watch Brighton play, I can't miss him. It's just impossible to miss this guy.
Like
every blade of grass should be happy that Pascal Gross is going to.
And he's also on all their set pieces.
Yeah,
and very
creative.
good on set pieces. Yeah. So I think his all round game, like underrated because of the fact that he's getting on a little bit now. And there's no big moves coming for him, right?
Like he's never in anyone's.
He's
team
never
linked
to. He's never linked to one of the bigger clubs.
Yeah. He's never going to be in those.
Credit.
He's never like the meat shoes of like the one season wonders. He's just been Brighton. I just feel like Brighton, Pascal. It's worked. So
baller. Pascal.
It's hard to explain. He's just a baller. That's well said.
And it's been severely underrated now
for years.
Yeah,
he is. Showed him my other two midfielders.
Yeah.
So I went.
I've gone sort of different tuning here to you.
I've gone Kamara, which is I guess the start of the pickup of the player alongside Gross. Again, super player. And this year, I had to put one Villa player in.
Yeah.
We all expect. I'll do
my other Villa player.
Do your other Villa player.
So I've gone McGinn.
Do you want me? I went Kamara.
This was really tough for me because I actually think you're probably more right in terms of underrated. That like Kamara is the fact that he gets picked every week and plays minutes every week.
He's just there.
And it isn't talked about anywhere near as much as McGinn and Douglas Luiz this year.
Yeah.
And amongst Leon Bailey and Diaby and all these guys, right?
Keep naming names.
He probably actually is the actual underrated one. I think Douglas Luiz is now getting the like higher echelon credit where like he's probably at a right level now.
Yeah.
And McGinn, I don't know, I'm a little bit conflicted about putting him in underrated because I think he's sort of nearly
he's getting
rated
there, I think,
at the right level.
Right spot.
But I mean, it's more so just like Villa's midfield has been underrated. Like McGinn's been there now for years, right?
Yeah.
And he's never really been rated until this year, I guess.
The underrated thing about him though, he's played different positions.
Yeah,
he played as a 6. Now he's playing the base as a 10, which is ridiculous.
But you going with Kamara?
So. Kamara, the thing, it sort of builds onto your point. You talk about Luiz, you talk about McGinn.
Yeah.
Half for their passports, half because of their name, basically. Yeah. Kamara is just the guy, like you said, he's there every single game. He'll either play at the 6 or he can play at the 8 because if Luiz drops in behind. But I just feel like out of this Villa midfield, you have to put someone in there. And out of all, like you said perfectly, those two names are talked about a lot. And I've talked about McGinn a lot on this show consistently throughout the year. Kamara, though, just does the business, right? A consistent performer. And I feel like this whole team, these underrated 11s are all guys who are just consistent. They don't put in bad performances. Yeah. I can't really, the odd mistake here and there, but even on the ball.
Yeah, they don't have as much flair moments,
no,
right?
but
which often get them the highlights and get them the rating.
The gap.
They're just super.
The gap between best and worst is like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas when you got like some of the big club players at the moment, you have great performers, you got absolute stinkers. And that's why these guys are so good at what they do. And I feel like in any team in the world right now, you'd take a Kamara, even like the Real Madrid. So you'd put a Kamara next to Bellingham, freeze up Bellingham. Like any team in the world, you put a Kamara there, you're saying thank you very much, and all the other midfielders progress. That's probably the biggest compliment I can give.
No discredit to like McGinn or Douglas Luiz, but you think about potentially when Villa get a little bit more attacking output in like Buendia back, who definitely has more attacking output than both the other two I mentioned. Yeah. It's like, do you sort of take that approach and try and just like free up Buendia, make it a bit more of an attacking like front 4-ish sort of thing, 3-4, and try and score more goals because like Kamara can probably deal with a bit more responsibility to be like that sort of defensive minded guy in that midfield. Yeah. And have either McGinn next to him or if Douglas Luiz leaves, it sounds like one of them might leave. Then like it probably allows you probably get to see Kamara in more of like a almost Paulinia type midfield role in that Fulham team where suddenly he's really rated now because he's like the sole midfielder in that defensive minded in that team. So maybe that's sort of the future Kamara in that Villa team.
I think Luiz, we can agree that he's...
he's been linked. It's like similar to a bit of we always get these players
constantly
linked every window.
But do they ever go? That's the...
And like, it just, I can't see him going on to us now, who was a big link over the last few years, but it feels like he's primed for a a bigger money move, right? Not that Villa, Villa are in that bigger club echelon now. They're playing their way into that. But I don't know what the money is on like, right? And I feel like there's clubs out there who are willing to offer him a much bigger salary,
big paycheck
to fill a gap in their midfield. So I wouldn't be surprised if Luiz leaves.
Definitely.
But yeah,
who's your third in that trio?
My third midfielder. Okay, so this one, he's a massive name player, and he's actually had it's so annoying. This last 6 months has done
establish himself back.
I've gone Bernardo Silva.
You know what? I can stand by that. I can back that.
He's still underrated. This guy's
only just getting enough, and maybe
is he even getting enough? Should Bernardo Silva not be in a team of the season every year? Lock every year? He borderline should be. Yeah. When you're overshadowed by KDB and Rodri and Gundo and these flair players, you got Rodri, defensive sole pivot, scores goals.
Yeah.
You got KDB, scores goals, and he's just KDB, right?
It's KDB.
And you got Gundo with his bloody January and February every year, right? It's where can Bernardo Silva, Pep gets him in that. This is Pep, and he gets him in that team every week, whether it's on right wing, whether it's in a centre midfield, whether it's deep, whether he picks up the ball from Edison. He is. It feels like he's one of the first names on that team sheet because of what he does for that team. He just joins everything together. He's so good on the ball. Talk about Pascal Gross popping up and being good on the ball. This guy is one of the best players I've ever seen do this. Honestly, on the ball, I put him similar conversations, buddy Messi, because he's might not score the goals Messi does, and that's why he's not the same player.
Yeah.
But this guy is so good on the ball.
Yeah,
I've seen him run rings around Van Dijk. I got buddy clips on this. He just puts Van Dijk on his bum, starts doing these spins
ridiculous.
Bernardo Silva, nothing like the other players we said in this list because.
No.
But in terms of where he should be, he should be in a top 3 midfielder debate every year, but he never is.
That's a thing.
But that's how good he is, right? And
it's hard, man.
It's just so hard to be in that conversation unless you're scoring goals week in, week out. And unfortunately, he just doesn't do that. He's not really on set pieces. He doesn't have these camera moments, right?
No.
He just kind of pops up and puts the ball in the net every now and then. He's just such a tough one.
I think I've said it a few times because it's funny enough. We've stumbled across Bernardo Silva a few times on this show, the other show, a lot. I'll say it maybe hopefully for the last time because he'll be rated from now on in.
Yeah.
The thing about Bernardo Silva, as much as this might sound strange and maybe not really relevant, he came from arguably City's best ever player, which was David Silva. He had to take that role. He had to have that mantle. So that was one thing. He's taken that and I think almost surpassed it in terms of maybe not standing out, but doing his job. He gets moved to the right, to the left, in behind, constantly. Every week, you don't know where the hell this guy's playing. He just pops up and gets the job done. And the thing is as well, like you said, in Pep Guardiola's team and in Pep Guardiola's signings, he was one of the early signings that was the staple pieces of his team. Doesn't that just say it all? Doesn't that just show how good he is?
Yeah, it's the fact that he's Pep will find a way
to fit this guy somewhere.
Fit him in. That is the biggest compliment you can have to Bernardo Silva's impact in that
incredible.
Team. Is that Pep? Pep has all the money in the world. If he wants to sign a player in that position, he can go get something.
Go sign Calvin Phillips.
But there's never there's never a debate about a midfielder coming and taking Bernardo Silva. It's always he's going to play alongside KDB or Bernardo Silva or Rodri. I was where's he going to play? They've already got Bernardo Silva.
Yeah.
Which has been the reality now.
That's what it is.
They signed Mateus Nunes. They signed buddy Calvin Phillips. They signed all these midfielder players. Cole
Palmer gets sold.
Cole Palmer gone.
Yeah.
They got Kovacic there. They've tried to sign these Gundo replacements, but they've just sort of realised, we've got KDB, we've got Bernardo Silva, we've got Rodri. We don't really need anyone else.
Bernardo can play the 8.
So it's just such a weird one because he's obviously rated, but he's just probably not. He probably should be. His legacy in the Premier League and as a player should probably be in a Premier League great.
Talked about
because he's won so many trophies. He's been a staple in so many trophy winning teams. He was a staple in a treble winning Pep Guardiola team, and yet, he's just not. It doesn't feel like he's going to be there in that debate when it comes to those Premier League players. Haaland's only been there 18 months.
Talking about him
and he will be much more of a staple, much more of a memory in that Pep team than Bernardo Silva, and that's purely because. He gets in the end of all this creative work in the midfield.
Gold tick.
To open up and allow these tap-ins, which is essentially what he scores.
Haaland does,
right? So, look, he's such a great player to watch, Bernardo Silva. Like, he really, he sort of is the essence of like football. You know what I mean?
This is the beautiful game. The beautiful game.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
he's just so unlucky though. Like you said, so you got Rodri and De Bruyne in his own team. Yep. Then you've also got like another Portuguese in Bruno Fernandes as well.
Disregard,
And then you've got Martin Odegaard that's been around. Like,
bloody Portugal's team has ballers. You've always had Ronaldo there, overshadowing everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got Ronaldo.
Yeah. And then when Bruno plays for Portugal, Bruno for Portugal's
biggest player.
Yeah, like ridiculous. It's crazy because I think if in the Portuguese team, I think Bernardo was almost taken away by what Bruno does. But if you put them on separate teams, obviously Bruno gets all the applause because he's the captain and he does all the moaning. And I think they're both.
I think you ask a lot of people who actually watch football. Would you rather Bruno or Bernardo Silva?
I think a lot of people Bernardo.
I think most people take Bernardo.
It's consistent
performance. It obviously just depends on the position, right? If you want more output, you're going to go Bruno. But like, who's a better player? I think everyone says. I think if you watch the game, and if you don't say Bernardo, that's probably why he's underrated. Bruno's good, man. But I think Bernardo Silva should be clear of him. And Bruno is very good.
I think I don't know if I should say this. I think he's in the same sort of there's levels, but he's in that same sort of ilk like Kroos and Modric, where they're like
you say there's levels, but there probably shouldn't be. This is the point.
I have a lot of.
Has he won?
Yeah, no, he's won. He's so many.
He's been a staple
treble
of the Premier League Farmers era, right?
Yeah,
he's made the Farmers League. I know, and he's been a staple. I know he was benched a little bit more back then,
but
I know that he's like solidified in that team.
I still think though there's a difference to Kroos and Modric.
Yeah, okay.
That's
Modric
like
wasn't
you talk about this is football.
No. I agree.
But those guys I don't think get the respect they deserve.
But how he's very
old
similar is Bernardo Silva, man?
29. I'm pretty sure 29 because I made a
Kroos and Modric are like 38.
Yeah, they're ridiculous.
Let this guy do it.
Yeah, if he keeps doing it to this age, like what Kroos and Modric are.
And that's another thing is that Bernardo Silva's done this at such a young age.
At Monaco, he was ridiculous as well.
He's
people forget that actually. People forget the Monaco team.
He's 30 this year, but the player he can go for 10 more years because that's the player he is.
He just roams around, picks the ball up.
Yeah. He's a Kroos type. He's a Modric type.
Yeah.
He's a purely like intelligence based and on the ball based player.
Yeah.
He doesn't need any strength.
No,
he doesn't need any pace.
He's a little hobbit. I always say he's a little hobbit. Roams around.
He's already bald. Like
he's
one of those players who can just go on for years to come, and maybe that's why he's underrated.
Yeah,
because he hasn't done it for the 10 years, like the 10 more years, like Kroos and Modric have done.
That'd be one of the greatest debates, maybe in the future. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for Kroos and Modric. Like, I hold him like on a pedestal, like because
obviously you got Messi for recognition.
Exactly, you get Messi, Ronaldo, and you get Neymar, and you put him and Benzema. All the guys get put it.
Casuals don't appreciate it.
But then you look at these guys. Yeah. And even now with like Tchouaméni and all these guys here, like they're trying to be them, but always one of them in the starting. Modric is always in the starting level.
Well, they keep trying to replace the sign.
But guess who's still there?
Got Bellingham,
but guess who's still there?
Exactly.
These guys, and that's the thing. Bernardo could be the thing for City. You could get Matheus Nunes and all these guys come in, but guess who's still there?
Like KDB's getting injured a bit now. Like, these guys, players like KDB and these players who are not that KDB relies on his athleticism. But he's a bit bigger, a bit taller. Like he's like 6 foot.
Off a little bit more.
Exactly. Like these players who rely a bit more on their physicality and their athleticism and their sort of like archetype build will drop off as they start getting in their mid-30s, late 30s.
Yeah.
He'll only stop because he's like 40 and has kids and wants to stop.
Yeah, his knees are done. Yeah,
literally, it's like he's not one of these players which will ever.
You can't lose your mental side of the game.
Exactly. He'll only get better.
Yeah.
At that,
he'll just start seeing more things.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
It's a great player we can watch for the rest of his career, and who probably has another 10 years left.
Oh yeah, I think we can.
Yeah,
Daisy's that.
He definitely got his credit just then.
I was about to say, but now this makes my next guy look like an absolute scum.
Who have you got? I've got my front three. It's hilarious.
I've got there's my third midfielder. I've got Ryan Yates, who's the Nottingham Forest central midfielder.
That's hilarious.
Okay, I should have put mine before yours. Now thinking about it, we're gonna tail it back. How do I put it? When Nottingham Forest play their best, this guy's there.
That's hilarious.
And now that Nuno's there, he's playing Yates. I think that's the biggest credit. They've sort of tried to turn it around, and he's the guy playing. Obviously, he's in that. Even in that Nottingham Forest team, he's not even a name.
People are going to think we're putting like Bernardo Silva, and somehow they won't understand that we're not talking about them being different
levels. We did a whole monologue of 15 minutes about Bernardo Silva, but no, this is me doing.
That's hilarious.
I'm trying to get different names in there, and this is the guy. I have a lot of people who have soft spots for. That's another one of those players I have a soft spot for. But I think the difference when he plays when he doesn't play that team, and the fact that he's not like a Murillo or not a Domingue, all these South Americans, and not a Langa or not a Wanyi, says a lot. He's just a Yates. He's just Yates. He's Ryan. He's Ryan. He's Ryan from England. And I think, that's the thing.
Ryan from England.
He's a solid player, breaks the play up, energizer bunny. Every team needs one of them. And that's why he's in my team.
Yeah.
Not Bernardo Silva, though. Yeah. He's not Bernardo Silva.
Oh, who would you rather, Ryan Yates?
Yeah, Ryan Yates.
Okay, so front three. So it's funny because I've gone on about Bernardo, but then I go on to...
But I'm do your whole front three. I feel like it might work this way.
Okay. So my front... Doesn't actually... Okay, it will allow me to make a case a bit better.
I feel like it'll work for me.
So, look, this isn't like, if I wanted like a real team, this sort of work. They're all pretty versatile.
Yeah.
So I've gone. This one, I'll get eyebrows for this. I've gone Leandro Trossard.
I've got Leandro Trossard on the left as well.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. That's why I want to do it as a three because I feel like we have a very similar front three.
Nice.
Yeah,
okay, and I've gone Danny Welbeck at 9.
I had Wilson.
And then I've gone Jordan Ayew as like my other player.
Different.
I'd probably put Ayew on the left, Trossard on the right. Trossard's a bit more...
He can go anywhere.
What's the word? Like, versatile.
Yeah.
Then Ayew, he's a bit more of like a striker / left forward thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, these guys across the board, like, I think Trossard will both agree on, like, despite getting that big Arsenal move and stuff,
but he's still, what's 30 mil? Like,
yeah, but won the transfer fee or will undermine his move 100% because 27 mil is what you signed him for.
Nothing.
When the same window, we signed a 27-year-old Trossard for 27 mil when Chelsea signed 100 mil Mykhailo Mudryk.
They're 9.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is the guy that had like 3 weeks, 3 months before, scored a hat trick at Anfield
and battered Liverpool.
And did those ones.
Then crazy on them.
He's so good on both feet. Had put a shift in at Brighton for years, and had good output. Like, I don't know what his numbers were, but it felt like he scored
big time players.
Big goals in big games.
Yeah,
and he's also one of those players that left Brighton, which is never spoken about.
No,
like we never give Brighton credit for surviving without a player like Trossard.
Who's Premier League.
Like, that's output they lost, man. And it kind of allowed Matoma to like become
to
Matoma.
Shine. Yeah, that's the perfect thing because you lose Trossard, who was the guy around the place. Matoma was there. The thing about Trossard though. Another biggest crack I can give him. He comes to the bench every single game. 60th minute, you look to the bench, who's warming up?
He's even and is that meaning he's not underrated in Arteta's eyes because he's always the first guy to go to, but he's almost underappreciated in the fact that like.
And I know it's
why does he not get a look into start?
That's what I'm saying. And I know it's Martinelli and Saka. And last season I get it, but this season you got, and obviously now you're starting to see it.
Gabby scores a double.
Yeah,
it does show you why. Yeah, I know. No, I know. I mean, he started on the weekend.
Yeah. So, I guess recently we've seen it.
He comes, but he has to work a lot harder
than the others do.
It's like with Martinelli and Saka, like guilty until proven so innocent until proven guilty. As in we have to mount a case to get you dropped. Whereas with Trossard, he has to fight for his bloody spot.
Yeah, that's
right. Fight for his bloody innocence. Yeah. Right. For my example.
Yeah.
To get a look in, and it just feels like he has to work so much harder, but he continually does. Like it's now been a year.
Yeah.
And you thought maybe once getting dropped, it'd be a lot harder to get back in the team. But he's still earning his spot back in.
He's there.
Basically, a year to the day. Started against whoever we battered.
Who did you have that first game?
Palace. We just battered Palace. He started in that game.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Martin came off the bench. And like it just showed. Yeah, he continually gives output and just does his job from the bench. And he keeps at the likes of Smith Rowe and Nelson and these guys who have good cameos every now and then.
Yeah.
But he's just the first guy. He's just like
so technically skilled.
Yeah.
Scores a goal.
Yeah. Good in the
Fox
ball.
in the box as well. It reminds me of the Liverpool players. That's why I love the Liverpool players. Like Diaz and Jota. These guys just
know. It's like a Jota.
Yeah, there's nowhere to be.
Finishing.
They know where to be. They're not that like Jota's probably a bit better with his head, but they've got the ability to score with all these different parts. Like left
Jota's
foot, right
a bit better in general, but in terms of like
same mold.
Yeah, very, like not overly quick.
No.
Or big.
They shouldn't have been the wing, you think, but they're just good in the wing. They see the pass. They make the right decisions. Another one, again, it's similar with all these players. His best and his worst is not much different.
Yeah. Do they have the bloody same celebration as well? Doesn't Jota hit these ones as well?
I think he does as well.
He does with some weird eye thing.
Well, I don't know Jota. Jota's half time doing the gaming celebration as well. But yeah,
that's funny.
I trust I was one of the first ones to put in. To be honest with you,
I'm surprised. I would have thought, he's at Arsenal. Like it's too hard to put him in.
That's the thing. It seemed hard, but we could talk about 45 minutes about why he's underappreciated.
Super underrated, I think, Trossard.
Yeah, I think he deserves to start. But yeah.
So I said I said Ayew and Welbeck. Who else?
So I had Trossard, Wilson, and I went Solly March. So again, that's why I saved it as a.
He's been out all year.
I know, and someone who also thought people appreciate a lot, but I feel like again, similar to the Bernardo Silva thing, this guy's, and we're big on how much Solly March changes. This team, right?
I think we saw in the first few weeks what Solly March would have done for that Brighton team. And towards the back end of last year when De Zerbi came in, he would have been integral into getting sort of. He has a lot of output. Yeah,
he finds numbers. You don't think he has numbers, but he finds them. And it's similar to Gross. Every blade of grass he touches, he makes it perfect. Like it's beautiful. Like everything he does is just nice to watch. And it's not pace. It's not ridiculous like skills or anything like that. It's just like I'm going to put in.
Basically has 1 foot. Like he makes it work with like not much of a right leg. Like
and we've seen people struggle with one foot. You see how Anthony does the 1 foot.
Like Anthony, Pepe, all these guys that come in with like they're only going to play on one leg. Can't get it done.
The scouting report would be all over that, but he still gets it done.
Exactly. Makes it work. That's a really underrated characteristic. Being predictable and still making it work.
Making it work, yeah.
And we've seen so many players that can't do it, but he makes it work.
He can duck inside a little bit.
Yeah.
Go back on the outside.
But he'll get to the byline.
He'll find the right ball. Yeah. And he makes numbers appear out of thin air, I feel like. You don't think he's going to do anything, but bang, there it is, assist goal.
Maybe assisting Solly March is my guy, Danny Welbeck.
There it is. Segue perfectly.
So the reason why he can, work with one leg is because that guy Wells,
bang,
he's just drawing both the centre backs, right? Hold up machine.
The goat.
And he was one of them that like, there's probably there's a reason he was playing at United and Arsenal, right? Is that like, despite not being super like aesthetic and scoring bangers, he finds a way to get involved.
Yeah, well said. Like get involved.
He finds a way to get involved, and his hold up play is really good. His build up play is really really good. Maybe he hasn't had the goals in the last few years, and maybe that was always what let him down in his whole career. Like, he just couldn't score enough goals, and maybe why he's so underrated. But I think in a team like Brighton, where ideally you have a bit more output around you, because that's usually what they had.
Yeah,
they had the guys like Solly March and Matomo scores, and McAllister or someone in the 10 who's going to score goals, right? He hasn't always needed to score goals because they're so good creatively, and they're such a build-up play team. So many players get involved, right?
Yeah.
And like, there's a reason he still plays with João Pedro and Evan Ferguson. 100 mil Evan Ferguson. They go and sign João Pedro.
Yeah.
And he still plays.
He still starts.
I think he started their last game.
Yeah.
And he's getting on, but like he just still gets a look in, still gets a contract extension, and I think for me he's one of them. His whole career has just been underrated, right? Like what he does on the pitch is underrated, and his whole career playing at United, playing at Arsenal, and when it felt like his career was probably like in the balance, went to Brighton and has been able to sort of borderline cement himself as a starting player in that team. Yeah. So I just think Danny Welbeck, that guy has always been a little bit bantered, but underrated baller.
Injuries done him in as well.
Can do it all. Yeah, and injuries same as your guy, Callum Wilson.
Yeah.
Injuries for a lot of these guys have capped
what they could have done.
Yeah, maybe reaching those heights.
Yeah. Because Danny Welbeck, I hope I get this right, either the year that Fergie retired or the year before that, he was so important. Because
cooking.
Because we were in so many cup competitions. So he was playing Champions League games and stuff like that. And alongside Rooney, he just, in a big team, he'd never be the number one.
Yeah.
And then that's why he sort of works at Brighton with he has that link with Pedro and had that link with Ferguson. He's a perfect number two.
He can play really well on a two.
He's almost in the wrong era. When he was at his best, when he had the 4-4-2s.
He would have been elite in that, in those early Fergie teams with Ashley Cole up top next to bloody whoever the hell he was.
And that's why I can the Van Persie and Rooney thing. When he would play with alongside them, you'd see how good he'd be because he's just perfect in a two. And obviously Brighton somehow sort of manifests
he draws a centre back.
Yeah. He's smart.
Yeah.
He makes the right runs. That's what they always say. The commentators always get it right. He makes runs where they think, he's drawing the defender
you have
to go with it.
It doesn't matter if, you don't have the sort of clinical nature of Ronaldo or Messi.
You have to
the defender, because you're getting in such a good spot, the defender has to follow you.
It's just underrated. And that's why, also leading on to mine, I have Callum Wilson as well. Injuries a little bit as well.
Very similar. Very IQ-based player.
They're smart. And the thing about, separates them maybe why Wilson's not much of an underrated baller, his goals per 90. I think the stat
exactly.
keeps coming up this year. The stat.
What they provide to teams is different.
Yeah.
Wilson is just purely, he just finds goals.
His IQ is to know where to be.
Yeah.
Wilson, Welbeck works with the teammates around him. And this guy just benefits of
And credit to Wilson, it shows that when he is fit, he actually starts games.
He does.
Like, it's not like Isaac starts every game. Eddie Howe rotates him.
We said this a few weeks back, like how Isaac probably should be high on these lists. That's how good Isaac is. And the fact that we still put Wilson quite close to him or sometimes on an equal level to him, or they push Isaac to the left to fit Wilson down the middle. That says a lot about
exactly. I was going to say, I think getting them both in the same team it highlights
that's
what a fit Callum Wilson is really worth. And I think that kind of epitomises what you're saying.
The Bournemouth stuff early on as well. He was important keeping them up.
Yeah, buddy, Bournemouth
days.
Eddie Howe loves him, eh?
Oh, prime Bournemouth baller. Never be topped. But yeah, that's our teams.
My last one.
Oh,
who's your last one?
I had March Trossard.
Okay, I didn't touch on Jordan Ayew.
You did what? You go on Ayew. You go. Have a moment in the sun.
So I swear this guy's okay. Well, we're talking about we think it's his brother who's at Swansea.
I'm sure it's Andre. Yeah, Andre was at Swansea.
Jordan's at Palace.
Yeah.
It's Jordan. Oh, anyway, the Ayew who's at Palace, Jordan Ayew.
Yeah.
Has played. I swear he's been there now for so long. Right.
I'm gonna check his transfer market stuff, but yeah.
And whatever manager's there, he always plays.
So true.
Like he played under Roy, played under Vincent. Played under Roy, played under Patrick Vieira. Wherever the hell was before Vieira, I think it was Roy again. Like he always, he's always part what?
Who was at Swansea?
Jordan.
Maybe they both were teamed up.
Oh my god.
Andre Ayew.
How long has he been at Palace? Can you find that?
Since 18-19.
He's been there going into his fifth year.
Andre Ayew. I'm pretty sure Andre was at. Gee, this is where we live to the name. That's where the name comes from. Yeah, Andre was there as well. So they're both there at the same time. That's why. So Jordan is. You're right. He was at Swansea for a little bit though. So you're right in presuming that. Continue your monologue. Continue. Just making sure.
Need a fact check.
Yeah, that's all.
Because what I think Jordan Ayew does is that his output is. I know his output's not great. Like in terms, I feel like they always mention it, but on the commentary and stuff. But there's also a reason why he always plays.
Yeah.
Like, I think he provides a lot to that team. He has, so he can play in that sort of centre forward, or he can play on the left wing.
Yeah.
And I think he offers if he's going to play striker, he offers a very different sort of makeup than Mateta or Edouard, obviously who are the big boys. And I just think he's been around for a little while now, but always gets a look in. It's just a bit of a threat. I think not as underrated or as same ceiling as these other players I mentioned, but I thought Jordan Ayew deserves a bit of respect.
I liked it.
Yeah, in terms of when you have Eze, they've had Zaha, they've had Eze, they got Eze, they got buddy
Elise there as well.
These players these more flair players who have more moments, right? But I think we forget a lot. Zaha was a super moments guy, man. If Zaha wasn't putting the ball in the net, he wasn't doing a lot.
No.
It didn't feel like he was doing much. He could get clamped pretty quick. Whereas Ayew, a bit of a workhorse.
Shift.
Much more of a workhorse. And he allows those players in that sort of front dynamic to shine a bit more by being there. So I think that's the reason why he's always in that team.
Yeah.
So once again, the consistency he has.
He does what he needs to do.
Yeah, right? Allows the players around him to have their moments, right? And that's why I think he deserves a bit more credit.
Yeah, Palace have been a result team. Yeah. Get a 0-0 at Old Trafford or get a 1-1 somewhere. Why does that happen? It's because Jordan Ayew is basically a fullback because he basically does everything and he's just up and down. And you're right, when he's up front, he can score the odd goal as well.
Yeah.
But the Apple thing is it feels a bit harsh when you're at Crystal Palace. So we talked about how mid they're just being consistently. You can only score so many goals a season if you like that.
Literally, we've seen with their strikers, no one's had any scoring.
No one can score goals at that club. Yeah. So the quick run over our team one more time. So I went Kaminsky, Mitchell, Tyreek Mitchell, Dawson, Ethan Pinnock, and Alfie Doughty with Ryan Yates, Kamara, and Gross in midfield. Then Trossard, Wilson, and March.
So good, very underrated team. I've gone Neto, Robinson, Pau Torres, Gabriel, Doughty as well. Pascal, John McGinn, Bernardo Silva, Trossard, Welbeck, and Ayew.